Imagine waking up in a hotel room covered with bruises and not knowing how you got there. You're disoriented, you're in pain, you're afraid, and you wonder who did this to you. Now, stories like this happen more often than we think. Abduction, rape, and being forced into the sex trade happen every day. Sometimes these individuals, these women, these children don't make it out alive. Today you will meet someone who lived to tell her story.
I used to always put my drink behind the bar and wave to the bartender, to watch my drink. The next thing I knew, I woke up in a hotel room far away from the club. I had been raped by at least 5 men.
Wow.
I remember just thinking, I just want to die.
She wants you to understand the signs to watch out for with your own children and the dangers that lie in wait for them. What you hear today may be disturbing, but I challenge you to listen. My guest today will share some very personal information and wants our young ladies to pay very close attention. Get ready. I'm Creflo, and this is your world.
Changing one life, time after time. Oh Lord, we do it all for you.
Through the trials I see, I'll always believe a new life starts with me. Oh, change your world today. Change is gonna come your way. Change and get an understanding. His grace will transform you.
My guest today survived a difficult childhood and unfortunately made some bad decisions that took her life in a wrong and dangerous direction. But now she has become a beacon of hope and inspiration to young women everywhere. Would you please join me and welcome Christina Lewis to your world today? So good to see you. I've really been looking forward to interviewing you on this because it's a serious subject, but I don't find that it's being talked about as much as it needs to be talked about. And so this is your world, and I want to give you the opportunity to take us into your world. Walk us up to your home life and why you attempted suicide at age 12.
Well, I was born in Fort Lauderdale. My mom, I never met my biological father. My mom remarried when I was about 7. I was pretty close with my stepdad. I always called him my dad because he was the only father figure I had. But he grew up in New York, so we ended up moving to New York with his family, and that's when things kind of shifted. Okay. He became abusive. He abused my mom. He abused me. I think that because of his upbringing, he didn't handle things properly, and so his way of handling things were with anger, and he will always apologize after and things like that, and I would forgive him. But I remember riding the bus home and praying his truck wasn't in the driveway. I'd wake up in the morning and you'd hear stomping down the stairs, cupboards slamming, and it's like, what do we do now? Yeah. My sister would have to run to the neighbor's house to call the cops because my dad would break the phone, so we couldn't call the police. And even child services got involved, and they would have to come to the house, and we would have to play like everything was good. When I was 12, I ingested a whole bunch of pills. I was in the psychiatric ward for a week, and I remember him saying, are you happy now you got the attention you wanted? And returning to school and the teasing and everything, and people, joking about aspirin and pills and stuff like that. It was hard. It was really, really hard.
So your emotional disposition at this time was what? Depressed?
Yeah, I definitely.
Suicidal?
Yes.
Hopelessness? Maybe not feeling significant?
No, I had no worth.
Yeah.
I felt like I had no worth.
Okay, yeah, and that's so very important because the background of where we're getting ready to go. I mean, we thank God that the person you're hearing about now is not the same person sitting on the couch, but I really want you to see where she's come from, and this is really helping out a lot. Continue, ma'am.
Yes. So You know, after that, I was involved in sports, and I would always try to direct my attention into other things, you know, to keep busy. I was a social butterfly. I was very outgoing. I did have a lot of friends. I even had I remember certain friends that couldn't come to my house because their parents knew how my dad was. And the things that he was very manipulative. He would say things like, you know, if it wasn't for you guys, I'd go blow my head off, you know. And I remember screaming things at him like, I hate you, I hope you die, you know, awful, awful things. And he would say it back to me and like call my mom out her name and things like that. You know, that's what I grew up with. So, you know, I used to always say, as soon as I turn 18, I'm gone. I turned 18 in June. I graduated from high school 2 weeks later. And my parents went away for the weekend, and I wasn't allowed in the house when they weren't there. So while they were gone, I broke into the house. And I took all my stuff, and when they came back, I was gone, and they didn't know where I was. And I was staying with friends, and I was going from place to place. And I rebelled because it was so strict in the house growing up. I just cut loose. I was partying every day and just doing all kinds of reckless things, thinking I'm finally living life now. When I was 19, I had gotten pregnant. I have a son. He was about 18 months old. I had a friend that I babysat for her. She worked in a club. And she used to say, oh, you know, you're pretty, you should come audition. And I'd be like, I'm not about that life, you know. And I got into a bind. I'd bounced some checks. They were threatening to come arrest me. So she was like, well, just come hang out one day. You don't have to do anything, just come hang out and see what it's like. She's like, I work during the day. You know, it's all the white-collared men come in. They tip very well, you know. So one day I came in, I started drinking, and the next thing you know, I'm auditioning.
Are people more motivated by the money you can make being a stripper in a club? Because most of the time when you hear people talk about it, it's like, no, I would never do that. But then they end up doing that.
Absolutely.
What's behind that?
I think it's the money, and it's also, for me, it was the attention.
Okay.
Like I said, I struggled with self-worth. I was very, very skinny in high school. You know, I got teased for being flat-chested and all these other things. I had a chipped tooth. I always felt ugly. So when all this stuff came with the money I was making and the attention that I was getting, and it was like the deception was, well, this is during the day. These are calm businessmen coming in. You know, they're serving steak and lobster at lunchtime and stuff like that. So then I got greedy and I switched to nights. At night, it's a different crowd. It's a younger crowd. And you actually have to work harder at night than during the day because there's smaller tippers and things like that. One night I heard my name that I was on deck, which meant I was going to be going up. And so I used to always, put a napkin over my drink and put my drink behind the bar and wave to the bartender, to watch my drink. So I remember doing my set. The next thing I knew, I woke up in a hotel room far away from the club.
You know, this is a very well-organized business, sex trafficking. And I would imagine they have a marketing plan. I would imagine they have specific people that they investigate, look for, and go after. So the last thing you remember is taking a drink. And the next thing you know, you wake up in a hotel.
When I did wake up in this hotel room hours later, I was shaking. I had bruises on my thighs and my wrists, and I could barely walk. I remember there being a projects across the street, and I was upstairs outside, and I remember making my way down, and it's just so embarrassed because of what I had on, and I didn't know where I was, and I was just staggering. And I remember these ladies sitting on a bench outside, and I'm making my way over to them and asking them, they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, where am I? And it was so embarrassing to say that I look in the way that I looked and not knowing where I was. And they they took me to the closest Amtrak station, and I took a train back home. I remember just thinking, like, I just want to die. Like, I just felt so humiliated.
So they took you out of the city. You were in the city, and they took you out of the city. What do you think happened? What do you think was getting ready to happen? Because, you know, there was a plan there, and you were a part of that plan. And the drug had to be so strong.
Rohypnol was in my system.
Oh, wow. And nobody was there, I assume, when you woke up?
No.
And immediately you could gather your senses to leave. If you hadn't woke up, you think you might have ended up in another country or something?
I could very well have, yes. Once I learned about human trafficking years later, I was like, I heard similar stories. Mm-hmm. I heard a story of a girl who was set up by her friend. She met for coffee, and her friend drugged her coffee and sold her into slavery. And she woke up in a brothel. When I found out about human trafficking and I heard these stories, I thought about what happened to me, and I was like, that could have been me. Thank God. I don't know why it wasn't. I'm grateful. But I determined that I got to walk away. So because I got to walk away, people need to know this is not something that's just in Thailand and Cambodia and like these foreign countries. This is right here in the United States, in our own backyard. This is taking place. There are 27 million people enslaved today. There are more slaves today than any other time in history.
And I heard that Atlanta, Georgia is one of the hubs.
Absolutely.
For human trafficking.
Yes, it is.
And this is right in our neighborhoods, right in our backyards. And for it not to be talked about more than what we're hearing about it, it's something that just overwhelms my thinking. This is a hard question, but after you were able to get back home, you went to the doctor. And what was the doctor's diagnosis of what happened to you when you were out?
I had been raped by at least 5 men.
Wow. So in a sense, Christina, you were forced to become a product for somebody else's use and for pay. How'd you get over that?
It took a long time.
It took a long time.
Yeah, I was in therapy. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder,
yeah,
bipolar disorder, depression. I basically was existing. I would be up all night and sleep all day. My mom took care of my son. And I feel like I missed out on so much of his life because even though I was living in the house with him, I was like a zombie. Mm-hmm. You know, it was very, very difficult to, I felt damaged, so damaged. I was on 12 pills a day I was taking just to, you know, just to exist, you know, and function.
So what was the ignited moment that things changed?
When I met my husband. It started when I met him, and then in 2008, you know, we both got saved together, became members of the church. There was a service, you know, I remember thinking, they kept telling me, you know, you have bipolar disorder, you'll have this the rest of your life. I remember you did an altar call and you said, if you've been diagnosed with something that they said you'll carry for the rest of your life, I want you to come down. So I went down, you laid hands on me, I received my healing that day, and I just started confessing and believing for the manifestation of that healing. And I weaned myself off the medication. I still continued my therapy, and then gradually I didn't need the therapy anymore either. The word became my therapy.
Yeah, amen. Yeah. I want to make sure you guys got that. The word became my therapy. Now, what are you motivated to do, and what is it you want to say to young women and even men now? Is human trafficking?
Oh yeah.
What is your mission where that is concerned?
My mission is to be a voice for the voiceless. Mm-hmm. Just to instill worth back in women, especially these young girls, because this is a $150 billion industry. they watch and they prey on those that come from broken homes. They know they're getting teased in school. They know they have a hard life at home. A lot of them are being sexually abused at home. They run away and they fall into the arms of a pimp. And he'll spend a good year, it's called boyfriending, grooming her, you know, romancing her, investing in her to earn her trust, so that when he does flip her, she won't get away because she thinks he loves her.
That's an investment here, and you know, we need to take a break right quick, but when we come back, we want to hear more about this setup. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You know, during the break, Christina, you said something to me about the amount of time that a person is seduced into human trafficking. Could you share that again? I want everybody to hear that.
Every 30 seconds, someone becomes a victim of human trafficking.
So this show is 30 minutes.
60 people. By the time this show is finished, 60 people will have become victims of human trafficking. They invest so much time into, you know, earning her trust, and even earning the family's trust, where they think this is a stand-up guy, you know, and then when that turn takes, it's almost hard to believe, like, no, he wouldn't do that. And the sad truth of it all is that these girls are servicing up to 40 men a day. And as bad as it was for me, I can't even fathom servicing 40 men a day. Human trafficking is such a multifaceted industry because it's not just sex, it's forced labor. You have men who are forced into mines for 18, 20 hours a day with no food or water. You have child beggars. Wow. I mean, I heard a story of a little boy they put on the side of the road in India. He didn't look sorry enough, so they cut his arms off. And then they put him on the side of the road to forced begging. And the whole thing is turning bodies into commodities, you know? And it's like, when I first heard about this, it was like, for one, we have 3 girls. If my child was out there, I'd be wishing somebody would do something. I'd be wishing somebody, if I didn't have the means, somebody please do something. So that's what it was for me. When I found out about it in 2009, it haunted me. It wasn't like a sad commercial, oh my gosh, that's horrible, and I carried about my business. Like, I couldn't sleep. I have to do something. I have to, whatever I can do, you know.
As far as being able to, with this multi-billion dollar business, there's a way that they are promoting their business. And recently, this particular avenue, I think, has been shut down. Could you tell us about it? I think it's called Backpage.
Yes,
yeah.
And they're actually being sued.
Okay.
Because there were loopholes with the law where they were able to, you know, hide behind the Constitution to be able to do what they were doing. But there are so many documentaries. I highly recommend I Am Jane Doe. It's a lot of those young girls that were trafficked on Backpage, and they and their mothers were fighting back to get justice.
So how does Backpage work?
It's kind of like Craigslist,
okay,
you know, and they're on there, and it could look like dating, it could look like an escort, you know, and these young girls are being made to pose, you know, and to take pictures and things like that for this, and they're actually selling them on there. And it's also, the other side of it too is pornography, because if there wasn't a demand, there wouldn't be a supply.
Man, I hope y'all are hearing this. So pornography now, through its lust-building effects, those who have taken humans and turned them into products,
yes,
they're being driven by mammon and the love of money. So you have the creation of the demand through pornography, and you think you're not hurting anybody, but you're becoming a part of the demand. And how addicted you become to it will eventually lead you to the point where you may want to place an order yourself. So then the bottom line to all of this is, who are you choosing, the Spirit of God or the spirit of mammon? Mammon tries to get you not to trust God. Mammon tries to get you to say, I don't need God. And mammon is the objective is to get you to fall in love with money and depend on it for everything. So what happens is, somebody can come and offer the bartender $1 million if he do this with the drink. And since somebody else can come and offer money to the politician if he can turn his back this way. And somebody else can come and offer money to the judge if he'll be lenient on this particular thing. Or the pilot who does this, through this motivation of mammon, creating this lust and lasciviousness, and doing it all for profit, which is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. What if it's your child, your daughter, your niece, your wife, your friend? Okay, maybe not paying much attention to it now, but what if it comes right into your home and it's right in your neighborhood? Ladies and gentlemen, if you've not recognized it, this is serious. This may be the most serious dialogue that we've had on the Your World show. For you to wake up, pay attention to this, and for each of us to add our voice together until that voice has entered into the halls of Congress and they do something about it quickly. It took a long time to shut down Backpage.
It did.
And you have to ask the question, why did it take so long? I mean, what are we talking about? People being enslaved, shut it down. Why does it take so long to accomplish things like that? Because you never know the people that are benefiting for turning their back, because mammon will get a politician to lie if he's being paid. It'll get things to happen if you're being paid. And I am saying, ladies and gentlemen, there are lives being impacted in the negative because we're not saying anything, we're not doing anything, we're not showing an outrage of this new age of slavery called human trafficking. And I believe it's time for us to do it. And if anybody can do it, it's Holy Ghost-filled Christian people who'll get fed up with the enemy's plan to try to destroy lives and do something about it. You know, our guest today was in one of the darkest places a person could be. But you know what? God saw her through. And He will do the same for you. If you are trapped in any type of dead-end lifestyle, it feels like there's no way out. Christina is a living testimony. There is a way out. And maybe today's program is your open door, your escape. You come out of that situation. Call out for God's grace. The Bible says, shout grace, grace, and that mountain will turn into a plain, into a plateau. He will see you through. Well, I hope you have been blessed by today's program. Would you help me thank Christina for being with us today on Your World? I'm so glad. God bless you. And listen, be sure to reach out to us online at yourworldwithcreflo.com and stay connected with me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I look forward to hearing from you and to hear your story. God bless you, and I'll see you next time right here on Your World.
If you're not careful, your decisions can lead you down one of the darkest roads of your life. If your choices have led you to where you're experiencing heartbreak, abuse, loneliness, or depression, it's time for you to take control of your life and allow God to see you through. Creflo Dollar wants to help you get back on course. Call now to receive this life-changing collection of materials that will direct you to the right path. First, you will receive this 3-DVD series, The Face of Grace, and you will learn how to rely on Jesus and not on your own decision-making. Take control of your choices and allow God to guide you to where you are meant to be. Next, you'll get Creflo's book, Living the Prosperous Life, which will show you step by step how to renew your mind to receive the God kind of prosperity, which is your divine covenant right. And if you call right now, you'll also receive Creflo Dollar's teaching, Your Authority Over Satan's Influence. This DVD contains a controversial message that will reveal the truth about your godly influence. Don't let the enemy influence your choices, or you'll end up on a path to destruction. Let God have absolute authority over your life and overcome Satan's influence. Call right now to take control of your choices and step onto the pathway to heaven. With your love gift of only $40 or more, you will receive this entire collection designed to help lead you to a better life. Call right now to see instant effects. And as another bonus, you will also get the uncut interview on DVD from today's show. You only saw a small part of the interview between Creflo Dollar and Christina Lewis. Watch the entire counseling and learn how God's influence in her spiraling life led her to a path of happiness and prosperity, and how you can too. So, now receive the collection in full, the 3-DVD series, The Face of Grace, Creflo's book, Living the Prosperous Life, another DVD teaching, Your Authority Over Satan's Influence, and the entire uncut interview from today's show. Receive all of this now for your tax-deductible donation of only $40 or more. Don't wait until you're on the wrong path to think about taking control. Make the choice to call right now to renew your mind and start your life on a new path. Call the number below right now. Your love and financial support makes it possible to bring this message into millions of homes all across the globe.